Alright guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another out and about video for you. So today, I am in Carlisle, in Cumbria, in the north of England, visiting my cousin who now works down here, and we're going to have a little look at this place behind me, which is West Walls Brewing Company. Now, these guys are a very new brewery, but they've got a really nice spot, and they're really nice people actually, I have to say as well. So we'll go in, we'll have a little look around, we'll try some of the beers. They've got some food in here as well, and we'll try some of that, and hopefully we've got another nice out and about video for you here today. So let's get started with this one. West Walls Brewing Company, Carlisle, Cumbria, England. Let's go. Alright guys, well here's the brewery exterior. So if you kind of just go up there and turn right the way I'm facing, that gets you back to the centre of Carlisle with all the kind of red sandstone buildings and things. But yeah, the white part up here I think is where they do a lot of their brewing and other stuff. But yeah, this is the tap room just here. So let's cross over and go and have a wee walk. There you can see the West Walls Brewing Company symbol, and yeah, they've got their cask mark as well, which is something you'll see on a lot of pubs in England. But yeah, we'll go in and we'll have a wee look. So yeah, it's quite a nice space. If you come over here, they've got the pizza oven and stuff like this. You can buy pizza by the slice, so I think we'll need to have a wee look at these a little bit later on. They've got their pizza ovens over there, the bar here, and yeah, the tap list. They're also projecting that up there if you want a closer look. But yeah, it's a really nice space actually. Some of the fermenters over here, the big wooden fire and stuff, and yeah, these two over here you've seen on the channel at various points, Jobby Balls, Miss Amanda, and yeah, they've just got a really nice little space here. Yeah, some nice artwork and things like that. So yeah, I have to say I really like it. But that's a little walk round here. This is one of the beers that you'll see a little bit later on in the video, so you can look forward to that. It was raining just right after we arrived, so had to do the walk round a little bit later on. But there you are. Let's get started on the beer reviews. Lager coming up. Alright guys, well let's have a look then at our first beer at West Walls Brewing Company in Carlisle in Cumbria in England. So yeah, as I always do in these videos, I thought it'd be nice to start off with something just light and easy going. So it turns out these guys have a Helles Lager at 4% ABV. It's called Too Easy. This should be really nice. So yeah, this one's a half pint glass incidentally, so for those of you using the metric system, it's going to be what, about 280 millilitres, something like that, which is a nice volume to try. But yeah, this one, as you can see, poured with a nice half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of creamy coloured head there, maybe perfect white actually, but yeah, lovely pale golden straw colour. Good amount of carbonation in this one, as you can see. It looks pretty much as you would expect a Helles Lager to. Remember, there's also the Czech variant of this type of lager, which is called the Svetli as well. But yeah, nice blonde lager beer, this one. Looks as we would expect. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. Type of malt that you use, length of your wort boil is going to play a role as well, and any barrel aging or adjuncts that you put in will affect its colour too. But all in all, as I say, this one looks as you would expect from the Helles Lager style. Let's have a wee look at the aroma of this one. I have to say, it's kind of got everything you would want. It's quite a mild aroma, this one. But you know, obviously the Helles Lager is an easy drinking beer. It's not the most kind of punchy type thing. But yeah, it gives you everything you want. You've got the nice wee bit of breadiness in there, little tiny touch of fruit, and some nice green component to it as well. So yeah, there's a lovely mix of stuff in here. So the backbone of the beer, you've got some fresh white ready bread crust in there, wee bit of wood, wee bit of cracker as you very often get, fluffy fresh white bread. There's maybe a little touch of, like, you know, McVitie's digestive biscuit, something like that, but not too much in the way of sweetness. Mostly the backbone of this beer is like, yeah, fresh white bread. Yeah, I really like the way that goes together actually. Just a wee tiny touch of biscuit there, like I said. The yeasty part of the beer at the back of the nose. Mostly like, yeah, again, a kind of fresh, fluffy white bread. There's a wee bit of bread crust to it, wee bit of cracker and so on. But yeah, other than that, not too much to report on the malty and yeasty side of things with the beer. It does smell as if it might be a bit of German malt in here, but you know, with us being in England, I wouldn't be surprised if it is English malt. But yeah, hoppy side of this one, I'm pretty sure this is going to be Hallertau or Tecknang hops in here, and it does smell quite German. You've got that lovely little touch of smooth earthiness in there, wee bit of a herbal character as well. The nice kind of floral notes, bright grassiness, again everything you would want from the Helles lager. The fruity side of this one's kind of what you'd expect as well. You've got a little bit of, you know, sort of like pear, apricot, some sultanas. Yeah, it's kind of everything you'd want from the style that way. So yeah, aroma wise, it's really nice. Let's have a wee look at the flavour then. I've been looking forward to trying this one. So yeah, this is Too Easy, 4% ABV, Helles Lager, our first beer here at West Walsh Brewing Company in Carlisle. Slàinte. That's pretty nice. Very smooth lager actually. Really nice and smooth. Mouthfeel of this one is really good, and then in the aftertaste you get that lovely malt. It's definitely German malt in this one. You really get that into the aftertaste. So what I always look for with these kind of beers, having lived in Germany, is I want authenticity, and this one does really give you that. So I'm going to say straight away to them, thumbs up, they've done a nice job of this. Remember as well, the technical definition of a lager in comparison to an ale, it's a different type of yeast you use which ferments at different temperatures. So lagers use bottom fermenting yeasts that will ferment at lower temperatures like 8 to 12 degrees Celsius, and ale will ferment using a top fermenting yeast which is like, you know, 15, 16 degrees Celsius. So yeah, this one, the conditioning will be quite important. It's best as well if you use a horizontal tank for lager beers. It tends to give you a better kind of crispness to your beer and stuff like that. But yeah, this one I don't think they have a horizontal tank here, at least not that we can see, but they've actually managed to get this pretty damn authentic. So again, thumbs up to them for that. But yeah, let's break down the flavour then. Backbone of the beer, fresh white bready bread crust, little bit of wood, a little bit of kind of cracker and kind of cracker layer on top of that, as you always get. And the beer, it does give you that wee bit of crispness into the aftertaste as well. So on top of the cracker you've got a fluffy, you've maybe got a slight layer of wholemeal brown bread in there, and actually the fact that there's a wee bit of brown bread in there makes me wonder, is there a wee bit of English malt in there along with the German malt? Could well be. But yeah, on top of that you've got a nice how do you say, you've got a nice kind of fluffy fresh white bready layer. On top of that there's a wee bit of like McVitie's digestive biscuit, and in the dead centre of your tongue you just get that little bit more of an oily biscuit, which is the alcohol coming out of the beer. So like quite an oily, syrupy McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing. But yeah, on the back third of your palate there's some really nice and a yeasty character in there as well. So the yeasty part of the beer, at its core, it's a little bit more kind of brown bready, I would say. Then around that, more white bready, and a wee bit of a kind of fresh white bready bread crust around that. So yeah, the malty and yeasty backbone of this beer is pretty damn nice, and as I say, quite authentic. In terms of the hoppy side of things with this beer, then again, like I say, German Hallertau or Tecknang hops in here, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, wee touch of earthiness in the back corners of the palate as you come further forward. It's slightly woody and slightly herbal, but yeah, as you push further forward from that, nice and floral and aromatic, little bit of a lighter grassiness out of this one, and then around the front curve of your tongue. So yeah, it just gives you that wee bit of hoppy freshness that you want. Front third of your palate with the fruity side of things, you get all the bready layers that we talked about earlier underneath, of course, the same on the back third of your palate, but you get that little oily bubble where the fruity juicy esters just roll their way out of the beer. So let's look at that. Yeah, so the fruity side of this beer then, it's kind of as I described in the aroma. At the back of that you're getting a little bit of that kind of sultana, you know, dry white green grapey kind of note. There's a little bit of oily pear in there, a wee touch of dried apricot. Maybe you've got a very, very slight hint of lime behind the very front tip of your tongue, but the flavours that you're getting out of this one are exactly as you would expect from a nice German Helles lager. So yeah, flavour wise, as I say, it's pretty damn on point. Mouthfeel wise, I think this beer, again, it's pretty on point. It gives you that nice kind of smooth mouthfeel. I would say it's maybe not quite as dry as and crisp as some of the ones you'll get in Germany. Like we said earlier, their tanks are mostly vertical rather than horizontal here, but they've still managed to get everything else pretty spot on with this one, you know. So the mouthfeel, this one, as I say, just a slight touch more oily and wet than you might find in Germany. But I'd say, yeah, light-bodied, mid-range light-bodied, good little bit of carbonation. This one, they've just got that spot on as well. I think your IBUs in this are probably about 20. The malt base gives you a wee bit of dryness underneath, smoothness in the middle, and a very slight sweetness on top. And then, yeah, you've got that slightly oily, fruity character out of this one. But yeah, beer gives you a nice bit of crispness into the aftertaste, I have to say that. So a very, very solid take on the German Helles lager. So thumbs up to West Walls for this one. So yeah, this was too easy, 4% ABV, our first beer here at West Walls. So yeah, let's stop this segment just now and I'll catch you guys in a second with something else. Cheers. Alright guys, so this is beer number 2 coming up, and they very kindly let me film them pouring it. So yeah, here's your nice traditional English cask pump. So look at that action there. But yeah, it's awesome. So there you go. There's a nice wee fresh half pint of English bitter. So yeah, it's this one you'll see in a wee second. West Walls Bitter End. There you go. Look at that. Thank you very much. Cheers. Right guys, time for beer number 2 then here at West Walls. So yeah, this one I think should be quite interesting for a couple of reasons. So this beer, as you can see, or as you saw in the last little segment, is called Bitter End, 4% ABV, an extra bitter, English bitter, I guess, whatever you want to call it, in honesty. This is a style that I'm not overly familiar with, because the ones that I tried, I didn't enjoy all that much. In fact, my favourite English style bitters that I've had have been brewed in Sweden with American hops. But for me, the English hops are always a little bit more kind of earthy and herbal and slightly woody and things, and I just think it works better with the darker styles like stout, porter, and sometimes the milds as well. So yeah, the English bitter is a style that I don't drink all that often, because, you know, for me, I like the Scotch ales, the kind of brown sugary side of the beers that little bit more. But hey ho, that's just me. You also saw that this one is cask conditioned as well, so the beer's a little bit warmer. And again, I got into craft beer and things really in Germany, so I got into it on the Helles lagers, the Dunkels, the Doppelbocks, things like this. So yeah, this one should be quite interesting. I thought, we're in England, we need to try an English bitter. So here we are, and we've got a really nice little craft brewed one here. But yeah, anyway, as you can see, this beer, once again, it poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of creamy, slightly fawny coloured head. You can see that this beer has a little bit more of a kind of amber tinge to it if I put my hand behind the glass. So yeah, you'll find English bitters to be this sort of slightly amber leaning colour. Yeah, not too much carbonation visible in this one, but again, that's quite common with the cask conditioning. You know, it's very, they tend to be very low carbonation and slightly more, yeah, just slightly smoother in mouthfeel and things. So let's have a wee look at the aroma of this one and see what it's all about. Alright, that's interesting actually. As soon as you smell this one, for me, it's like tiger bread, or kind of slightly rye bready leaning. It smells like, you know, if you get a tiger roll from like Morrison's or Asda or Tesco or something, it really is like that, like a slightly spicy bread crust. But on top of that, you've got a wee bit of like wholemeal brown bread, kind of fluffy fresh white bread. There's maybe a teeny little hint of like McVitie's digestive biscuity sweetness in there. But really, the thing that jumps to my head straight away with this beer smells like tiger bread. Really does. At the back of the nose, the yeasty side of things, it's You know, there's a wee bit of brown bready character to it, some white bready character again, a wee bit of bread crust and cracker. So yeah, it's a very bready backbone that you're getting to this one, which again is what I would have come to expect of the English bitters. You know, these ones for me are always very grainy. Sometimes they've got a very slight kind of brown sugary note to them as well, and then yeah. But on the hoppy side of things, again, it's kind of what I was saying about English hops earlier. It's got a lovely little bit of like earthiness to it. There's a wee bit of woody, herbally sort of thing going on. Bit of floral note and a smooth grass, but again, English hops are actually, yeah, really more herbal and earthy than their German noble counterparts. Fruity wise, it's, yeah, there's a little bit of like a more peary note out of this one. There's maybe a very slight like berryish or cherry note out of this too, so I wonder if they're maybe using one of the slightly newer English hops in this, because there's a whole bunch of slightly higher alpha acid English hops out there these days rather than your standard Kent Goldings or Bramling's Cross and so on. But I mean, Bramling's Cross could potentially give you that wee bit of red fruit as well. Very good hop and barley wines, incidentally. So yeah, there's a wee bit of a reddish fruity note out of this one, like maybe a wee touch of like black currant or cherry or something like that. Wasn't quite expecting that out of this one, but yeah, interesting stuff. As I always say, take a wee bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beers before you get stuck in, but let's have a taste of this one and see what it's all about. So yeah, this is bitter end, 4%. What are they calling it on the board? I think it's an extra bitter they're calling this one. Let's have a taste of it and see what it's all about. Sláinte. Okay, I'm going to say straight away, it's kind of the memory that I had of English bitters that it's kind of what put me off the style. But yeah, if you like the style, I think you're going to find this one is pretty well done. But yeah, if you think about the kind of bready, spicy note that I was picking up, the kind of tiger bread thing, that's what you get out of this beer straight away. So yeah, as I say, this is a style that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I think if you like this style, you will enjoy this beer. But let's break the flavour down and go through it as usual. So yeah, the backbone of this beer, you've got like a slightly, it's almost like a kind of toasty, roasty, bread crusty character there, and that lingers into the aftertaste, and it gives it a wee bit of bitterness and dryness there. So that's the thing with the English, that's the thing with the English bitters. You do get a bit of bitterness both from the hop and from the malt base. So yeah, you've got that sort of toasty, almost slightly well-fired bread crusty backbone. There's a wee bit of wood, there's a wee bit of cracker in there. Above that, you've got quite a dry brown bready layer, and that's got a little bit of height to it. And then above that, you've got the more white bready kind of character there as well. But the bready notes in this one are very, very dry. In the centre of your palate, you've maybe got a little circle there where the alcohol comes out of this one. And that gives you a wee bit of maybe like a, let's see, yeah, it gives you a wee bit of like a Werther's original note, but this beer really isn't sweet. It is more grainy and dry and sort of bitter into the aftertaste. When it's called an English bitter, yeah, you kind of expect that, stating the obvious. On the back third of your palate, yeah, you've got similar things there, the brown bread, the sort of toasty bread crust, the brown bready layer, then the white bready layer, and the yeast kind of character sits above that. Remember that generally speaking, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out, sweeter flavours come out further forward, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back, and you can really see that in this beer. Hoppy side of things with this one, so a wee bit earthy in the back corners of your palate, a little bit herbal as you move kind of further forward, and woody as well. Then as you reach the kind of front corners of your palate, it's a little bit more kind of floral and aromatic, and you've got a wee bit of a grassy, zesty thing around the front curve of your palate there too. In terms of the fruity side of things with this one, it's less fruity than I thought it was going to be. So in that front third of your palate, you've got all the bready layers that we talked about before, and you've also got that wee bit of, there is a wee bit of fruitiness above that. So, like when you take the beer in, You get a wee bit of like blackcurranty kind of notes out of it. Yeah, a wee bit of kind of blackcurranty note out of it, a little bit of an oily. There's a wee bit of a peary kind of thing and a wee bit of dried apricot into the aftertaste. But yeah, the fruity side of this one isn't overly noteworthy, if that makes sense. Yeah, and we can leave it at that for the flavour of this one, to be honest with you. I think we said everything we really need to. But yeah, it's one of the more toasty English bitters that I've kind of come across. But as I said, this is a style that I'm not the biggest fan of. But I always find if you actually do these with American hops and you get the big oily fruity notes of that, New Zealand hops I'm sure would work as well. I think they can be quite nice. But yeah, this one, yeah, just not for me, I guess. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel, what would we say? It's kind of mid-bodied. Carbonation's very smooth, but yeah, the cask conditioning, it's almost got a slightly creamy mouthfeel to it. Your IBUs in this one have got to be like, you know, I think this has got to be about 60, 70 IBUs, and that's coming both from the malt base and from the hops in this case. Your malt base drier underneath, smoother in the middle, very slightly sweet on top, and then yeah, you've just got that little bit of fruitiness on the end there. So overall, I think if you like an English bitter, you probably will enjoy this one. For me, it's just, as I say, a style that I'm not the biggest fan of, but yeah, interesting stuff. So cool to try one of these on cask in England. I think that might be a first for the channel, come to think of it. So yeah, I'll need to try this. This is what I'm going to try. If I'm going to film more in England, I will try some more cask bitters and things like that. But yeah, I think it's a style that I do need to try and learn to appreciate a little bit. So yeah, the bitter end, 4% ABV, not my thing, admittedly, but if you like this style, you'll probably find this beer very well done. So let's leave it at that and we'll go on to something else in a wee second. Cheers. Right guys, so the day that I'm here is the 18th of July 2025, so this is our tap list at West Walls today. So yeah, starting left top, we've got Session IPA, just called the Hop, 4.8% ABV, the Gold Full Blonde Ale at 4.5%. Don't see too many of those about these days, which is kind of cool. Then there's the West Walls Too Easy, which is a nice Hellas lager at 4%. They've got one from Hawkshead, Cloud Inversion, a hazy IPA, 6%. Then the next one down, the Cream, which is a vanilla cream ale. Again, something you don't really see all that much. So that could be quite an interesting one to try. But the Texas Sun, hazy pale at 5.5% ABV. Then up there they've got Ready or Not, a Nitro Red. I think we'll need to try that because I love a red ale, and I don't think I really couldn't tell you the last time I've had a Nitro Red, but that one is 4.2%. The Nitro Man Nitro Stout at 4.2%. The Damn Lemon, which is a Radler on tap. So having a Radler on tap in England is pretty rare. The Express Yourself West Coast IPA at 5.5% ABV. Orchard Pig Cider at 4.5%. And then Yellow Mellow Pilsner at 5% as well. So yeah, a good range of things actually available here, but yeah, they're all quite on the lower end of the ABV scale. There's no like beasts on tap, so yeah, definitely going for more sort of sessionable beers here, which is just nice. But as I say, a good variety of styles, which is always nice to see from a new brewery. So yeah, that's your tap list here at West Walls Brewing Company in Carlisle when I'm visiting in July 2025. Alright guys, well, time for beer number 3 then here at West Walls. So this is a style that I really love and I'm very curious to see how it turns out. So this one is called Express Yourself. It comes in at 5.5% ABV and this is a West Coast IPA. So yeah, this one, as you can see, it's poured a lovely kind of light amber colour, a little bit of carbonation sticking toward the side of the glass, which is nice, and you can also see again just about a half finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head in this one. So yeah, the guys behind the bar were telling me this one is a single malt backbone, so it uses Maris Otter, lovely English malt that gives you a mix of like brown bread, white bread, and a sort of biscuity and Werther's Original type backbone to your beers. I've not had Maris Otter and IPA in quite a long time, so I was quite excited when they told me that. But yeah, colour-wise, this one and appearance-wise, it looks pretty much as you would expect from the West Coast IPA. It's got that wee bit of natural haze to it as well, which you want. But remember, West Coast IPAs tend to use primarily barley malt in their malt base. It's not unheard of to use a little bit of oat or a little bit of wheat in them as well, but yeah, primarily barley malt. The New England hazy IPAs, there's a lot of oat and a lot of wheat in there in addition to the barley malt. So appearance-wise, there's nothing unusual about this one when you consider what style it is. Let's have a wee look at the nose then and see what we get from this one. Oh, right. I'm going to say straight away, this beer is very nostalgic for me. There's something very familiar about the hoppy side of this. This has got to be like Citra Mosaic or Citra Galaxy Mosaic, something like that. I think they've used like quite a well-known hop combination in this one. But it smells beautiful. I'm going to say that straight away. The aroma on this one is everything you want from a West Coast IPA. For me, there's two ways your West Coast IPAs can lean. They can be a little bit more bready and biscuity, such as the Russian River Pliny the Elder, or they can be a little bit more kind of like oily and caramelly, such as the Sierra Nevada Torpedo. Those are the two kind of benchmarks for me of the style, if you like. This one's definitely a more kind of bready, biscuity affair, but with it being only 5.5% ABV as well, you'd kind of expect that in all honesty. But yeah, aroma-wise, the backbone of this beer, fresh white bready bread crust, a little bit of a woody character, a wee bit of like cracker as well. You've got a lovely little touch of like wholemeal brown bread in there. It's actually got quite a bit of white bready character as well, and it's slightly drier than I remember Maris Otter being. So maybe that just goes to show you how long it's been since I've had Maris Otter in an IPA. But yeah, on top of the bread, there's a little touch of like McVitie's digestive biscuit, as I say. There is a wee hint of like a sweeter caramel in there as well, but certainly not overly mad and overly oily. But again, you can tell from the colour of this one, it doesn't have the likes of, Caramunich caramel or whatever from Germany, but you've also got the little bits of so the other one would be the American Turo malts, which are very sweet and very oily. But yeah, the malty backbone of this one's lovely. The yeasty side of this beer in the back of your nose, little bit of brown bread to it, kind of fresh fluffy white bread I would say as well, and just a wee bit of a drier bread crusty crackery sort of thing. Malty backbone, yeasty side, love it. Hoppy side of things with this one then, teeny little bit of earthiness in there, which makes me think Mosaic. Wouldn't be surprised if it's Amarillo though, but we'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, massive like big floral aromatic notes out of it. Good little bit of zesty grassiness in there. But yeah, aroma wise it's lovely. Fruity side of this one, there's a wee bit of like sharper peach in there. There's mangoes, a bit of like apricot and pineapple. That mix of tropical fruit makes me think Citra. Potentially the pineapple makes me think maybe a little bit of Galaxy from Australia as well. But I'm finding the more that I smell of this one, I think it's a bit more orangey leaning. So Mosaic potentially, but it's actually quite zesty and oily, and that makes me think Amarillo, and I love a bit of Amarillo. So I'm a bit unsure about that. It's always fun playing guess the hops with these beers, but over time it gets harder and harder because there's so many more different varieties of hops out there. But yeah, aroma wise, this is really, really nice. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, let's do this. I think we've said everything we need to about the aroma in this beer, so let's have a taste of it. So yeah, this one is Express Yourself, 5.5% West Coast IPA. I think this is going to be awesome. Slanch it. That's nice. That is nice. I'll tell you something as well, is that it's very easy drinking actually. Yeah, and like I said, this one's like a really kind of, it's like a really sort of bready, biscuity leaning It's a really sort of like more bready and biscuity leaning West Coast IPA, this one, but it's also pretty smooth. Like the English malt will give you that nice little bit of smoothness to it as well, and you really get that from the Maris Otter in here, but it gives you the drier bready notes in the beginning, but then it sweetens up into the aftertaste. But yeah, backbone of the beer, the middle third of your palate, fresh white ready bread crust underneath, a little bit of wood further forward, a layer of cracker above that, then you can feel a kind of smooth wholemeal brown bready character coming out on top of that, and that gives you a wee bit more like graininess into the aftertaste. You've got a fluffy fresh white bready character coming out of this one as well on top of that, and then yeah, you've got like a then you start to get the biscuity notes. You can feel there's a layer of like McVitie's digestive biscuit. Then in the middle of your palate, you've got that little circle there where the alcohol comes out of the beer, and there's a wee bit of Werther's Original, but like a straight up sweet caramel in the dead centre of your tongue. That's the boozy part of the beer. Malty backbone in this is really nice, and for me, it's quite nostalgic. You know, a lot of the English breweries when I was getting into craft beer, the likes of Magic Rock and guys like that, they were using Maris Otter in their IPAs. Tempest in Scotland, I think, were using quite a bit of it as well. And it's it's lovely, lovely malt. So the malty backbone of this one, love it. Very nostalgic for me. So, yeasty side of the beer, back third of your tongue, wee bit of brown bread at its core, a bit more grainy as well. Fluffy white bread around the edge, and then a slightly bread crusty note, and of course that sits on top of all the bready layers underneath. So yeah, malty yeasty backbone on this one, lovely. Hoppy side of things then, yeah. Back corners of the palate, you get a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, you get a wee bit of like herbally character in there, but you get a wee bit of like pine resin on the sides of your palate too, and that lingers there into the aftertaste. As you go further forward, it's a little bit floral and aromatic, and round the front curve of your tongue, it's just that little bit lighter and more kind of grassy and zesty. But it's not an overly bitter West Coast IPA, this one. But then again, I've just had the English bitter, which I found to be quite bitter. So maybe that's skewing my perception of the IBU in this one a little bit. But the green component gives you everything you want. Front third of your palate then, as always, so you get that oily bubble there where the fruity, juicy esters come out of the beer. Let's have a wee look at that. So the fruity side of this one, yeah, the fruity side of this beer, it's kind of as I was expecting from the aroma, but a little bit drier actually. So at the back of that front third of your palate, you've got a little bit of peachy character on top, soft juicy mango underneath, quite a little bit of apricot and maybe a bit of passion fruit in this one, and I get a wee touch of pineapple, but not quite as much out of this one. So this maybe makes me think a bit of Citra, maybe just Citra on its own rather than being Citra and Galaxy, to be honest. And then yeah, as you go into the front half of the front third of your tongue, you get that nice big kind of punchy orangey note. There's maybe just a wee bit of lemony limey note under there, which again would be a trait of the Citra. So I'm leaning more towards saying Mosaic and Citra in this rather than anything else, and that's quite a classic. It's quite a classic lineup of hops, if you like, quite a classic hop bill. So I mean, I get the impression with this one, it's Maris Otter, Citra, Mosaic, kind of just a straight shooting recipe that you, in a way, you can't really go wrong with, and they've done a nice job of this, we can safely say that. So yeah, really good drinkable West Coast IPA. I would be curious to see them take this recipe and amp it up to be like an 8% double, because I think it could work really nicely from that perspective as well. But yeah, solid beer, I have to say that. Yeah, I like this. Certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. Really enjoyed it. The mouthfeel of this one then, to round off. Yeah, I'd say it's mid-bodied, smooth carbonation. It's quite clean actually. You know, that you can taste the water in this one. It's, you know, it's a good the Lake District in England, Cumbria, Cumberland, whatever you want to call it. They've got good quality water here. Not as good as ours in Scotland right now, I will say. But yeah, no, they've got good quality water here, and you can kind of taste that. You can just taste the water quality in this one as well. But yeah, the backbone of the beer is received. Got a bit of dryness from the malt base in there, smoothness in the middle, sweetness on top. The IBU in this one, I think, is maybe 50, 60 IBUs. It does give you a bit more bitterness into the aftertaste, and then yeah, you've got a lovely kind of fruity, you've got a lovely sort of fruity, oily character to this too. So a really nice kind of bready, biscuity leaning West Coast IPA, this one. That's maybe my favourite of the beers that we've had so far on this one. So yeah, let's leave it at that. This was the Express Yourself 5.5% West Coast IPA. Quite a nostalgic beer for me, but one that I really enjoyed. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one, and I'll catch you guys in a second with something else. Cheers. So yeah guys, a little bit of a random thing here. They've got this lovely old piano in the corner, and they've just celebrated their first birthday, so that's kind of cool. But I happened to notice that, yeah, London Piano, but it says it's been sold by a company in Inverness and Church Street. So yeah, a little bit of a Scottish connection with the piano, but yeah, I love this. As you can see, they've got all those interesting cards there. But yeah, I love looking at old musical instruments. So there you go, something nice sitting in the corner. So I'm sure this gets played when there's a few beers going. Pretty cool. Right guys, time for our fourth and penultimate beer then here at West Walls. So this one really caught my eye because it's a style that I very much enjoy, and it's conditioned in a way that I don't think I've really seen too much of with this style, especially on tap. So just something that I was purely interested in. So yeah, this one is called Ready or Not. Comes in at 4.2% ABV, and this one is a nitro conditioned radio. So yeah, this should be pretty nice. So as we know, there's a couple of different types of radios. You've got the old English radios, which are a bit more malty, grainy and smooth. You've got the American radios, which are of course a little bit more kind of hoppy and bitter and things like that. And you've got red IPAs and stuff like that too, which unfortunately you don't see all that often anymore. One of my favourite beers I ever had was First Blood from 8 Wired in New Zealand, a red IPA with all the New Zealand hops. Beautiful, I still remember it. But yeah, I've not seen too many red IPAs over the years doing the channel, but hey ho. But yeah, nitro conditioned radio, this one. So you can see the head on this is a lovely sort of fawn colour, very, very smooth. That's going to sit there for quite a long time. The colour of this beer, I think you can see on the edge here, just with the light coming through it, it's got a little bit of that kind of, that little bit of kind of ruby sort of hue to it. But actually, to me, it's almost the same colour as like Coca-Cola, Pepsi Max, something like this. So yeah, like zero carbonation visible in this one, which with a nitro is kind of what you're going to get. Or when we talk about carbonation, really we mean bubbles, and you can't say that in this case because it's nitro. But yeah, the colour of this one is absolutely lovely. One of the darker radios I've come across in recent times, right enough. But other than that, I don't think we can say too much about the appearance of this beer. Let's look at the aroma and see what we get. Ooh, right, okay. Dipping my nose in it. That's not good. Right, so first off, it's like a nice big brown bready backbone you get. So it's like, I hesitate to say rye bread, but it's not far away from it. So you've got a wee bit of like toasty brown bready bread crust in there. There is a wee bit of like a rye bready note to this. Wholemeal brown bread all the way. Toasty brown sugars on top of that, like toasty caramel. And I want to say there's a sweeter caramelly note in there as well. There's wee hints of like nuttiness coming out of this beer as well. Like pecans or walnuts or something like that. So the malty backbone of this one's nice, and of course with an English radio, it is going to lean toward that malty end of the spectrum. There's no doubt about that. The yeasty side of this one, it's kind of similar. At the back of the nose, there's a wee bit of like rye bread, wholemeal brown bread, and some bread crust. It's got a wee bit more sweetness at the back of the nose as well, I would say, but also just a little touch of dryness. But the more that you smell of this one, I think you get more brown sugar out of it. I think that's definitely fair to say. And I'm also getting the smell of the pizza behind me as well, which is very nice, I have to say. I think we'll need to try a slice or two of the pizza for sure. Right, so that's distracting me now. But yeah, I think we said everything we need about the malty and yeasty side of the beer. Hoppy wise, there's not too much to report on that. There's a wee bit of earthiness, wee bit of woodiness, a little bit of grassiness, I would say as well. And then yeah, on the fruity side of things, fruitiness I think is there's not too much on that. I'm getting a little bit of like a kind of figgy, blackcurranty note out of it. But I will be honest and say my nose is getting distracted by the pizza behind me, so it's kind of difficult to focus on the fruit in this one. But yeah, fig, blackcurrant. I think that's probably as much as I'm going to get. That pizza's really going to the nose. But yeah, as I always say, take a bit of time to just enjoy the nose of the beer before you get stuck into it. I think we should try this one. Ready or not, I wasn't ready for that pizza smell behind me. Let's have a taste of this. 4.2% nitro red. Let's do it. Slange it. Oh, right, okay. It's interesting, this one, because I think if you gave me this beer blindfolded, I'd probably end up thinking it was like a porter or something like that. Very, very toasty. Like, I don't know, my sort of preconception of a red ale is that it's more like, it's more sort of brown sugary and brown bready and stuff like this. Whereas, yeah, I think if you gave me this with a blindfold, I'd probably guess it was a porter or something like that, or maybe even a stout. It is a really toasty take on the style, right enough, and the bready characters take a bit of a back seat to that. Yeah, interesting stuff. As I say, maybe if you conditioned this one on keg or cask or something, you might get more of those flavours. But I think nitro flavours always just they kind of take the bready. Nitro conditioning, takes the kind of dryness of the malt away a little bit and sort of smoothens everything out, but it does really accent those kind of toasty flavours. So yeah, it's interesting actually. I'd be curious to know why they chose to do nitro conditioning for this one rather than cask or keg, but yeah. Anyway, let's break it down. It does come across as really traditionally English, this one as well. It's actually a little bit, I wonder if the recipe for this is modelled on like an English mild. And the more you drink of it, it does show a little bit more of that kind of brown sugary sort of thing, to be honest with you. But yeah, the backbone of this beer, middle third of your palate, roasty, toasty, slightly well-fired bread crust in there. Further forward, there's a wee bit of woodiness. You've got cracker above that. There's definitely like a kind of grainy rye bread on top of that. Then you've got a more wholemeal brown bread, and all of those are quite grainy and quite dry, almost to the point where you could describe them as being slightly spicy. Then you've got a more like toasty, you've got like a kind of toasty brown sugary note above that. Then in the middle of your palate, again, little circle there, wee bit of caramelly note to it, but it takes a bit of time for that to come out right enough. And then, yeah, into the aftertaste, it's the toastiness that kind of breaks through from the base of the beer. So yeah, on the back third of the palate, you've got all those layers that I've talked about, but they're slightly taller, and then you've got the yeasty side of things sitting on top there. The yeasty part of the beer, it's quite dry and rye bready at the top, or in the middle, wholemeal brown bready around the edge, and then a bit more toasty bread crusty around the side of that. And yeah, of course, this is quite a malty, yeasty leaning beer, this one, with it being an English red ale, or a mild actually. Need to ask them what they intended with this one, an English red ale or a mild. But yeah, it's, the more you drink of it, it does sweeten up, but it is quite a toasty beer, this one. But yeah, hoppy side of things then. Back corners of your palate, there's a little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it's a wee bit more earthy and herbal, I would say. A bit woody, and as you reach the front corners of your palate, it's a little bit more floral and aromatic, and a kind of smooth grassy character around the front curve of your tongue. East Kent Goldings all the way in this one, I think. Maybe Bramling's Cross, but fruit makes me think Bramling's Cross, to be honest with you. Front third of your palate, you've got all the bready layers that I was talking about earlier. That little oily bubble where the fruity esters come out of the beer, but obviously in a nitro beer it's not that oily. But yeah, it's kind of figgy and blackcurranty rather than anything else. So yeah, the back, you've got a more kind of oily, figgy sort of thing. As you come further forward into the middle of your palate, it starts to get a bit more oily and kind of blackcurranty. Maybe there's a tiny little bit of cherry to this one into the aftertaste as well. So yeah. It's a really interesting beer, this one. As I say, the more that I drink of it, the more it makes me think of like an English mild rather than anything else. But yeah, you get more, I think, as it warms up, to be honest with you, because the can is fairly chilled for a nitro condition. I'm mixing up maybe nitro and cask here. Nitro beer is generally still quite cold. Cask beer just has a little bit of a slightly higher temperature. But yeah, I think as this one warms up, you get more of the breadiness and more of the kind of brown sugar out of it. But yeah, in terms of its body, it's nice and yeah, it's very, very smooth. Zero kind of prickle from the bubbles, if you like. Mid-bodied, kind of roasty and toasty. I mean, the IBU in this one's maybe about 40-ish, and that's not so much from the hop, but more from the toastiness of the beer. Smooth malt base, a little bit of sweetness, and just a wee bit of fruitiness. So yeah, this is an interesting beer, this one that's tasted my palate a bit, and you want that after thousands of beer videos. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that. This one was Ready or Not, a 4.2% nitro red ale. As I say, I suspect this one's quite like an English mild, to be honest with you, which is a style, again, that I don't come across all that much. So yeah, interesting stuff, and yeah, definitely one that's tasting my palate. But as I say, one more beer I think here, and we'll finish off the video, but I'll catch you guys in a second with something else. Cheers. Right guys, so couldn't resist some of the pizza, so felt this was a nice way to kind of break up the video as well. So we got a nice slice of the pepperoni one, so let's have a little look at this and see what it's all about. Alright guys, well, let's have a look at this pizza. So I will confess, when we got this one it had jalapenos on it, but we took the jalapenos off because yeah, I just don't like jalapenos. But yeah, pizza. Been sitting for a wee bit, so it'll have cooled down quite nicely, but it's got a nice kind of crispy base to it actually. So let's just see what it's like. Nice kind of pepperoni slice there. Let's do it. That's good. Yeah. You can taste a little bit of the spice from the jalapeno still, but the pepperoni is really nice. I kind of like the bit of crunchiness that it has too, but nice richness from the tomato sauce. That spiciness is really coming out too, and the salami's like, the pepperoni is really just nice and quite rich. Solid pizza here now. It will make you a wee bit thirsty for more, so just be aware of that. This one is, even if you take the jalapenos off it, it's still got a bit of spice to it, but yeah, I like it. Good stuff. That's all we need to say. Pepperoni pizza and beer, you can't go wrong. Catch you guys in a second. Right guys, time for our fifth and final beer then here at West Walls Brewing Company in Carlisle. So yeah, throughout this video of course we've gone from kind of lighter to darker beers, because most of the beers that they're selling here are kind of like session strength, like between 4 and 6% ABV. So yeah, usually you should work from weakest to strongest, but yeah, they're all about the same ABV here. So with this last one that we're going to do, we are ending on the dark end of the spectrum. We're going to go to a stout this time. So this beer is called Nitro Man, 4.2% ABV, just a regular English Irish style stout, this one. So yeah, apparently this beer and the last one both started their life as cask beers, but then they started experimenting with different conditioning with them, and they thought they turned out quite nicely with the nitro conditioning, so they did a little bit more of it. So yeah, this should be a really interesting one, but as you'd expect from any stout, it's poured this lovely sort of dark ebony rosewood colour. It's got about a half finger of a frothy, kind of fawn coloured head. Not much visible carbonation, as you would expect from a nitro conditioned ale. You're going to get pretty much zero from that. But yeah, it looks pretty nice, this one. The colour of this, if you shine the light through it, it has got a wee bit of a kind of chestnutty edge to it, but not much going on there, other than it being, yeah, dark ebony type colour. So let's have a wee look at the nose of this one then and see how we go. It's been a long time actually since I've had a session strength stout. Most of the stouts that I'm drinking in Hong Kong are like, you know, 10% plus. So yeah, this should be quite an interesting change of pace for this style family, in all honesty. So yeah, first impression, comes across like quite an oatmeal stout. It's actually very smooth and kind of slightly sweet in a way. A little bit of roasty toastiness in the backbone, a lovely kind of bread crusty type character. Wee bit of nuttiness, woodiness as well. Yeah, it's nuttiness and woodiness in there, I think, is that's really sticking out with me into the more that I smell of it. You get a little bit of rye bread in the backbone as well, which is nice. Wholemeal brown bread in there for sure. There's a little bit of chocolate to this one, but not overly much. Like maybe a sort of 40-50% cocoa chocolate. Toasty brown sugars. A bit of sweet caramel as well, but not overly oily, quite a dry caramel, maybe even slightly leathery. So yeah, the malty backbone of this one, which is obviously the focus with the stout, is giving you everything that you would want. The yeasty side of the beer at the back of the nose, there's a wee bit of rye bread in there, there's wholemeal brown bread, a bit of toasty bread crust as well. Yeah, again, the yeasty side of this one's pretty damn nice. Yeah, lovely stuff, I have to say that. Yeah, I think with this one, I think it's going to get sweeter the more it kind of warms up as well. But on the hoppy side of things, there's not too much to report. Again, I think a little bit of maybe they've used a little bit of Fuggles in this one. And Fuggles is a hop I never liked in golden ales or blonde ales. And as I say, generally speaking, English hops work better with darker beers in my opinion. But yeah, there's a little bit of earthiness in there, a wee bit of herbal character, some woodiness, floral aromaticity, a little bit of grassiness too. And these are all things you'd expect. On the fruity side of things, a little bit of black currant. Yeah, a little bit of black currant, a little bit of fig maybe, and a wee touch of like sharper blackberry. So again, these are all things that you would expect from. These are all things that you would expect from the fruity side of things. So yeah, the way that all of this, the fruity side of this beer, the way that everything goes together on the fruity side of this beer, brain is not working, is very befitting a nice stout. So yeah, let's leave it at that for the aroma and go on and have a taste of this one. I think this is going to be nice. So yeah, Nitro Man, 4.2% ABV, our last beer here at West Walls Brewing, Slangia. That's nice. I'll tell you something, when you take it in, very creamy, very smooth, and actually quite a lot of like black curranty, figgy notes coming out of this one. So it's nice. It's only in the aftertaste you start to get the drier and toastier side of the stout. So yeah, this is really quite nicely done. Yeah, no, that's impressive, this one actually. I will admit that compared to the last one, which they told me was based on an English mild, this one I think works much better with the nitro conditioning, I would say. Yeah, this one, I think this is really more kind of what you'd expect. But I mean, again, it's the sort of power of suggestion in a way, because a stout is a style that you expect to work well with nitro conditioning. But yeah, this is very nicely done. I'd say thumbs up with this one. I think this is on par with the Hellas and the West Coast IPA for sure. And it's a nice place to finish as well. But yeah, let's break the flavour down then. Backbone of the beer, roasty, toasty, not overly dry, well-fired bread crust in there. Wee bit of woodiness further forward. You've got the cracker in there, the rye bready layer on top, the wholemeal brown bready layer. Then you've got a layer of kind of chocolatey note coming out of this one. So yeah, the chocolatey character, it's a little bit sweeter further forward, maybe 30-40% cocoa chocolate further forward, and then yeah, maybe 50-60% darker cocoa chocolate further back. On top of that, you've got a layer of like kind of toasty brown sugary character coming out of this one, and then yeah, in the centre of your palate you've got a more kind of oily circular circle there, which it's got a little bit like Werther's Original underneath, but a wee bit of a sweet caramel in the dead centre of your tongue, and of course the nutty and the woody characters push their way out of the beer the more that you drink of it. So yeah, it's nice, I will say that for sure. This is very nicely done. So, you go to the back third of your palate, you've got all the yeasty notes coming out of the beer, and you've got all those bready layers that I talked about, but they're slightly taller. The yeasty side of the beer on top. You get a more dense rye bready character in the middle, surrounded by a more kind of grainy wholemeal brown bread, but then toasty, well-fired bread crusty characters on the edge, and that toasty, well-fired bread crusty character kind of lingers into the aftertaste there as well. So the way that all of that goes together, I think, is really quite nice. In terms of the malty side of things, then I think this beer it has the more Irish dry stout type quality to it as well, but it has got a wee bit of the more kind of smooth bready English side to it as well. So yeah, it really is kind of somewhere in the middle, and that works for it, I would say. So yeah, hoppy side of the beer, I'm pretty sure there's a bit of English fugal hops, whatever you want to call them, in here. Back corners of the palate, there's a good little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, it's got a little bit of a kind of herbally note to it, and you get that wee bit of like ashy character that you sometimes get out of the fugals as well, which is very, very distinctive. And then as you move further forward, you've got a bit of floral aromaticity on the front corners of your palate, then round the front curve of the tongue, it's got a wee bit of a lighter, more kind of grassy note to it as well. But yeah, hoppy side of this one, very distinctively English, I would say. Front third of your palate then, you've got all the bready layers underneath and then that fruity bubble on top, so let's round off with a wee look at the fruity side of things. So yeah, the fruity side of this beer for me, it's the fruity side of this beer for me is quite like, there's maybe a little touch of like plum on the back half of that front third of your palate, and as you go further down, it's got a bit more of a kind of, there's a bit more, as you move toward the middle of that front third of your palate, it's a bit more figgy, and it's kind of black currants with blackberries on top as you reach the kind of front tip of your tongue. So these fruity notes are quite interesting, but yeah, when you first take it in, you do get a good little bit of fruitiness coming out of it for sure. But yeah, really nice stuff actually. So in terms of the the fruitiness, it comes in at the start and it fades away and it comes out and we go into the aftertaste along with the roastiness and kind of woody backbone of the beer. So good stuff, I have to say. So to round off this last tasting then, mouthfeel wise, this beer, it's nitro conditioned, so it's very, very smooth, very, very creamy, very little carbonation, as you'd expect. Mouthfeel wise, I'd say mid-bodied, a little bit of roastiness on the malt base, roastiness underneath, smoothness in the middle, and kind of dry sweetness on top. The hoppy character gives you a little bit of bitterness, maybe like 40-ish IBUs, a little bit of fruitiness there in the beginning and into the aftertaste. But yeah, quite a nice dry toastiness out of this one overall. But a really nice stout, this one. I think we can safely say that. So very impressed with this one, I have to say. This was the Nitro Man at 4.2% ABV, somewhere between an English and an Irish stout, this one, but the nitro conditioning really suits this one. So big thumbs up to West Walls for this beer. So yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. I'll go outside and give you my final thoughts then in a wee second, and I hope you've enjoyed these tastings. Leave it at that for just now, my fifth and final beer.
Alright guys, well that is the end of our time then here at West Walls Brewing Company in Carlisle in Cumbria in England. So all in all, we had a really nice couple of hours here. I think we spent 2 or 3 hours in total. We got to try 5 different beers, and they were all pretty damn good quality actually. We started with the Helles, which I thought was really nice, very authentic, which is what I look for in that style. Then we tried the English Bitter, which I think was quite well done for the style, but as I've said many a time, just not a style that I enjoy all that much, to be honest. The West Coast IPA I really enjoyed, very nostalgic, and apparently I got the hops, the Guess the Hops thing quite close with that. It was Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic and Amarillo in that one apparently, so I was pretty close with my guesses, and which I was happy about. The Nitro Red was an interesting one. Tested my palate a little bit. was a little bit more like a porter rather than anything else, I would have thought, if I was tasting it blind. But apparently, yeah, it is more of an English mild. But the Nitro Stout was really good as well. Really enjoyed that. A nice place to finish. So yeah, all in all, very impressed with the quality of the beers. Mainly kind of session strength stuff that they're doing at the moment, but apparently they'll be doing some heavier stuff a wee bit later on. The two guys behind this brewery are Joe and Fergus. Joe was the dark-haired guy behind the bar, and we were looked after well by the two girls as well. Ali was one of the girls' names, and the other lassie I think had just recently started too. But yeah, the staff were really, really nice. The pizza was good as well. Amanda seemed to enjoy her margarita. I enjoyed the pepperoni one. But I think in terms of pricing, this one, it was between £2.50 and £3 for a half, if I'm not mistaken. So really good pricing there. The pizza slices were £2.50 each. The most expensive thing I bought actually was a takeaway can, which was £6. So yeah, I think in all maybe I spent about £35, something like that in total. So that is maybe about €40, 350 Hong Kong dollars. What, about $45 American, something like that, for those of you watching in different places. But yeah, a very new brewery. Apparently they only opened last year. They're about to upgrade their brewing capacity a little bit. The brewery is going to be in the sort of white part that you can see of the building up there. But yeah, they're going to change the little brew kit that was sitting there is going to be moved through there, and they're going to bring in more fermenters. But apparently this building was a nightclub previously, and that closed in 2007, so they took over the building after it being derelict for about 15 years, and they've done it up very, very nicely. So yeah, all in all, really nice experience here at West Walls Brewing Company. And yeah, you can see we've got trucks going in and out of the M&S depot. But yeah, I think that's a nice place to finish off with this one. And I hope you guys enjoyed this out and about video, and I'll catch you guys again with another one. But yeah, this was West Walls Brewing Company in Carlisle, Cumbria, England. Really nice little place that's just getting started, but I think they've got a good future ahead of them. Catch you guys in another out and about video very soon. Check out my social media, check out West Walls Brewing Company social media, and I'll see you guys again soon. Cheers.